Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Now, usually you see me in front of this big TV breaking down some plays, breaking down some teams and some styles and all things like that. This King of the Hill series is a series that I stole from First Things First, my favourite sports TV show. But it's also a series that I've been doing on my TikTok and my Instagram for pretty much the whole season now, and people have loved it. So I thought, let's do a slightly longer version here on YouTube. It is a video I can do weekly, and it is a video that should inspire a lot of discussion and debate down in the comments. But because it's the first time here on YouTube, I've got to explain the rules. So the King of the Hill is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is a pyramid of AFL players, and it is who I think is the best player in the AFL. When I say best player in the AFL, it's not necessarily having the best season right now, although that is a large part of what comes into it. It takes into account everything: past performance, current performance, how valuable you are to your team, how much you're contributing to your team, and also your team record has to be a part of it. Because no matter how good you are, if your team is not very good, we can't exactly have you being the king of the AFL. And every single week there is green tiles, red tiles, and blue tiles. So the green tiles means you are moving up. The red tiles, you are moving down. And the blue tiles means you have held your spot for the week. I promise you it'll make a lot of sense when the players start coming up. But without further ado, let's get into it. Here are the 5 players at the bottom of the hill this week. So first, it is Tom Green, not Toby Green. Giants midfield clearance beast. We are talking about a bloke who just rolls in, gets his 15 clearances, gets his 35 touches, and he kickstarts a lot of what the Giants like to do with the football. Because without him doing all of the grunt work at the coalface, in the phone booth, the players on the outside like Callahan, the players on the outside like Whitfield, they don't come into the play unless he's the one extracting the football from the middle of the contest. Absolutely deserves his spot and keeps it for this week. Next we have Caleb Sarong, so right. Now there was an argument to drop him this week because he got thoroughly beaten by James Jordan on the weekend. But given what he's done this year and how important he is to Fremantle and how they play the game of football, he does keep his spot for another week. Next on the list we have the ever consistent Jordan Dawson. Just does everything for the Adelaide Crows. Week in, week out, play him anywhere on the field, ask him to do any job and he does it pretty much to perfection all the time. Coming onto the hill this week, we have Isaac Rankin, also known as Guy Sebastian. Now, obviously, he had a monster performance on the weekend, probably the only reason that the Crows won that game. But when he is on, he is absolutely on. He can change the course of a game like that. Extremely impressive, deserves to come onto the hill. And for the first time this season, we have Josh Dacos, Nick Dacos' brother, onto the hill. And we could go through all the stats, but I think the most important thing about his disposals is that every time he gets the football, it results in a score. He is so damaging by foot, so damaging with his runs. We're talking about the way that Collingwood want to play and contributing to your team's success, which his team is doing as the best team in the league. He absolutely deserves his spot on the hill. There's your bottom row. Next, coming up the hill, we have Max Holmes, also known as Mitch Cleary, just because they kind of look alike and they're both from Geelong and everything like that. But nonetheless, he's completely dominated. The combination of him and Bailey Smith so far this year has been incredible. And on the weekend, without the likes of Smith, he was just back to his best, running, gunning, impacting the scoreboard. His individual ability to take the ball from the inside of the contest to the outside of the contest with just that burst of speed that he has is extremely impressive and also extremely valuable. Absolutely deserves his spot here. Next, we have Hugh McCluggage, or as David King calls him, Hugh McDamage. And that is because every time he gets the football, it seems like Brisbane are going to score. A lot of his touches are forward to centre and on the outside. And that's because he does so much work to get open in those positions. It's kind of incredible to watch Brisbane and watch the way that this guy runs through that midfield mix. He is great by foot. He is really good defensively. And because there are so many other stars in the Lions midfield, he often doesn't get the tag or doesn't get as much attention as a player like Lachie Neale or as a player like Will Ashcroft at the moment. Next up, we have the Western star. We have Zach Butters. If you don't get that, eat more food. Again, so with the green tiles, he's moving up the hill because he is dominant. He is breaking tags left, right, and centre, and that is because he is so explosive in and out of the contest. He's a threat to get 45 touches every single week, but he's also a threat to set up 6, 7, 8 goals going forward. Without him, Port Adelaide's midfield looks really, really dour, really, really slow, and he provides the difference. He's the difference in that Port Adelaide midfield, and without him, which they might be next year or the year after if he decides to leave, they might be in a little bit of trouble. And rounding out the second row, we have Jeremy Cameron, and he's moved up the hill because he just completely decimated a poor team in Richmond. We're talking about a bloke who's leading the Coleman. When he is on, he is absolutely on. And when he plays a bad team, like he did on the weekend, he is just going to rip through you. And if we're talking about damage per possession, this is the bloke that we want to speak to. Because there are games where he might only have 6, 7, or 8 disposals, but he's had 4, 5, 6 goals. So there are your bottom 2 rows Next, this row, all blue bars, which means it is unchanged from last week. And that is because Jimmy Noah Anderson is on absolute fire, well and truly deserves his spot here. He might win the Brownlow, by the way. In my opinion, he's going to be the first Gold Coast Suns captain to lead the Suns to the finals. So realistically, if we're making a King of the Hill, he has to be on it. The same with Ed Richards here. If we're talking about damage from the midfield, Ed Richards is one of, if not the best this season. I think Champion Data have him rated as the best player in the game, or at least he was for a large part of this season. And there's a reason why. Every time he gets the football, especially on the outside, and the Dogs play this really forward of centre style of football where they trust their midfielders to run forward of the pack, and he is often the one on the receiving end of the last handball going inside forward 50. So he can hit the scoreboard, he can set up his other teammates, he attacks the football, he hunts the football, he doesn't necessarily just wait for the outside run handball, which he is so good at. He goes and gets the football himself, and that's really impressive. And then keeping his spot is Sam Wemby Darcy. Everyone who watched the Western Bulldogs versus North game thought that Sam Darcy got beat by Will Dawson, and probably to the eye you did, and then you realise he had 6 shots on goal. We don't see players do that in the modern game where they kick 4 goals on a good day. He's going out and doing that on what people call one of his bad days, or a day that he got beaten. Absolutely deserves his spot, but now we're at the top 3. Next, first coming up the hill, we have the Bont. We're talking about consistency and brilliance and just ability to do everything all the time, every single game. We are talking about Marcus Bontempelli, especially this year. He's just the epitome of class on a football field. Every time he touches it, things turn to gold. We all know how good he is and how he deserves his spot on the hill right here. Coming down the hill, he was the king of the hill for a few weeks here, Baz Lenker, but you can't be king of the hill if you're not going to play. I know you were laid out with illness, but you've been laid out a couple times this year. You've missed 3, almost 4 games now. We can't have you king of the hill if you're not even on the park. But when he is on the park, when he is on the field, he is almost dominant. The combination of him and Max Holmes through that midfield, and then his ability, especially late in games, with that pure gut running, that pure aerobic ability to just run through teams over and over and over again. And whether that's through clearance or whether that's through outside run and carry, he is the one that extracts the football and gets the football from their defensive 50 to their forward half of the ground like that. He might still be leading the Brownlow. You've just got to have him here. But if he's here and the Bont is here, that means there is a new king of the hill. Who is it? It can really only be one man and one man only. That is Nick Dacos, and I think it's pretty clear to see why. He's now starting to break tags left, right, and centre. He's starting to dominate games and take over games. And when you are the best player on the best team in the league, you deserve to be AFL's King of the Hill. And it's not just on reputation, because he could be and probably is leading pretty much all of the major awards at the moment. And that is just because his brilliance and his best games are so good. And even his bad games, we're talking about a game against Ed Langdon where he got tagged out of the game. We're talking about a bloke who had 20 touches and a goal. Realistically, I think the only reason people are thinking he's having a down year is because his 2023 and 2024 years were so good that he has set an expectation for his performance that is way too high, but still a completely phenomenal season. There we go. Here is King of the Hill for this week. Now, this is where you guys get to get involved, because who would you like to see move up? Who would you like to see move down? Who should be on the hill that isn't on the hill? And remember, if you want to put someone up or put someone on the hill, you have to take someone out or put someone down. So if you want to move Sarong up the hill, you have to put someone down who's above him, because otherwise it wouldn't work. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for a reason. So let me know in the comments what you think, if I should do this every single week. Make sure to stick around and subscribe. Plenty more breakdown videos on the way, especially from Thursday night and Friday night footy this week. We've got some absolute crackers coming up. But for another week, Nick Dacos is King of the Hill.